Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started right away here on our rear turret demo. This is the only working Fundrazr NAS number 121 rear turret workable in North America. And this represents the most dangerous place you could be on the Allied side in World War II, because the rear gunner was the most vulnerable position, and the night fighters always went after him first, because if they could get underneath the Lancaster or the Halifax or whichever bomber you were in, if they could get past the rear gunner, then they could fire up into the gas tanks of whatever bomber they were in, and instantly the aircraft was on fire, or worse yet, simply blew up. Lots of times that happened. So the rear gunner position was very important, because his was the first outpost of warning for the rest of the crew and his aircraft as they were flying to the target and back from England over occupied Europe. And the night fighters got very good at their job. They would try to sneak up underneath, fire up into the gas tanks, as I said. They even designed, the Germans designed a special upward firing pair of guns with two 20mm cannon mounted on it called Musik, and that was specifically designed for shooting Lancasters and Halifaxes down, and it worked very well. Anyway, there are numerous stories about rear gunners and some of the bad luck they had and some of the good luck they had. One quick story. During March 1944, there was a Lancaster flying on its way to its target in Germany, and it was flying over the Black Forest of Germany at 20,000 feet, and they got hit by a night fighter, and the skipper said, "We're going down, boys. Everybody bail out. The plane's on fire." So Flight Sergeant Alcamaid, who was manning the rear turret, knew that he had to get out, and he had to get his parachute first. The parachute, because this is so small in here, is stored behind him in the fuselage. He opened his little doors, which we're going to do here momentarily, and he opened the little doors, reached back to get his parachute, burnt his hands because his parachute was on fire. He knew that there was no sense trying to use that parachute, so he closed his little doors. He cranked the turret sideways, opened the doors again, bailed out backwards from 18,000 feet up into the night sky minus the parachute. He fell at terminal velocity through the night sky, and luckily for him, he hit some great big fir trees in the Black Forest of Germany, broke a number of branches on the way down, then landed on his back in 3 feet of snow. So Flight Sergeant Alcamaid was laying there, knocked out for a couple of hours, finally woke up. He's looking up at the night sky, didn't quite know what was going on. He heard voices and dogs, and all of a sudden he heard, "Rouse, Rouse, what are you doing here?" And he had presence enough of mind to say, "Well, I jumped out of that Lancaster that you shot down." And they said, "Where is your parachute?" He said, "I jumped without one." "You lie. You must be a spy. Nobody could survive that. You come with us to headquarters. We will question you. And if you are found to be a spy, you will be shot." So they hauled him off to headquarters. Luckily for him, some of his other crew were also captured. They had parachuted down and had been captured, taken to their headquarters. And they identified him. Yeah, that's Flight Sergeant Elkamate, our rear gunner. So anyway, to make a long story short, he was saved and survived the war in a POW camp, and then got home later and lived for several years afterwards. For every story like that, there are 100 where that rear gunner didn't make it, where he was shot down, where a huge cannon fire shell hit him. Here's what we were shooting at the Germans. Thank you, Mr. Matt. 303s. 1,100 rounds per minute out of these Browning machine guns. If you put enough of those into the air, yes, you could shoot down a night fighter. But you had to be very lucky. The Germans were shooting back with things like this. 30 millimeter, that's a 30 millimeter cannon shell. And they use quite often 20 millimeter, which is of course smaller than this, but still significant in size. And it had explosive in the tip, so that when it hit something like this, it would simply blow it into pieces, along